Every inhabited continent carries her African footprint somewhere in its bloodline. We uncover the women history left behind. Her story, our history, our legacy. This is Roots Unspoken.
In 1977, Nigeria offered the British Museum £2 million to borrow a single carved face for 18 days. The British Museum said no. So Nigeria carved its own copy, put it on every stage, every stamp, every broadcast of the biggest Black arts festival the world had ever seen, and made a stolen woman's face the symbol of an entire continent's homecoming. Her name was Idia, and 200 years before anyone photographed a queen, she was already the most powerful woman most people have never heard of. Real women, real artifacts, real history. This is Roots Unspoken, late 1400s. The Benin Kingdom is one of the most sophisticated states in West Africa. Walled cities, a standing army, a court of brass casters so precise that European visitors couldn't explain how they worked without magic. Into that court comes a young woman named Idia. The Oba Ozolua sees her dance once and decides he's marrying her. That's the story everyone tells. It's the smallest thing about her. Idia becomes one of Ozolua's wives, and she has a son, Esigi, in a court with dozens of royal wives and dozens of royal sons. That should have been the end of her story. A footnote. A name on a lineage chart. It wasn't. Because when Ozolua died, the crown didn't just pass to the next name in line. It had to be won. Esigi's older half-brother Arhuaran believed the throne was his by right. He raised an army. Esigi raised one too. And Idia, the dancer, the footnote, raised a third. Contemporary accounts and the oral histories kept by Benin's chiefs agree on this much. Idia didn't stay in the palace while men decided the kingdom's future. She organized her own military support for her son, and by some accounts personally led troops into position. When Esigi's forces were still consolidating power against his brother, it was Idia's army that tipped the balance. Then came a bigger threat. The kingdom of Ida, a rival power to the north, invaded Benin territory in 1515. Esigi's own chiefs reportedly told him the war was unwinnable without his mother, not as a figure of speech, as strategy. Idia was known for her political counsel, and Benin tradition credits her with medicinal and spiritual knowledge, protective charms prepared for soldiers, herbal treatments for the wounded, counsel that shaped when and where Esigi's forces moved. Benin won the Ida War, and everyone at court knew exactly whose war it had actually been. Here's what makes Idia different from almost every royal mother in world history. Esigi didn't just thank her. He restructured the government around her. He created a brand new title, Iyoba, Queen Mother, and gave her a palace of her own, the Egwai Iyoba, built outside the main palace walls, staffed with her own chiefs, her own court, her own political authority separate from the king's. She became, in effect, a second seat of power in the kingdom. No Iyoba had ever existed before Idia. Every queen mother who held that title after her, for the next 500 years, into the modern Nigerian monarchy that still exists today, inherited a role that was built from nothing, because one woman's political and military judgment had saved her son's throne twice. Historians have put it plainly. Idia was the true power behind Esigi's throne. Not a metaphor. A job description. After her death, Idia was memorialized the way Benin memorialized its most powerful ancestors, in ivory, the material reserved for kings. 2 nearly identical pendant masks were carved in her image, worn by later Obas at the hip during ceremonies honoring her memory. Her face carried into every state event for generations. In 1897, British forces launched what they called a punitive expedition against Benin. In reality, a colonial invasion that burned the capital and looted the palace. soldiers found a cache of ivory masks in the Oba's private chambers. The two finest, including Idia's, were taken by the expedition's civil leader personally. One eventually reached the British Museum, the other, the Metropolitan Museum of Art in New York. Neither has ever been returned. 80 years later, Nigeria tried to bring her home, even temporarily. For Festac 77, the largest gathering of Black artists, musicians, and intellectuals the world had seen, organizers asked the British Museum to loan the mask for 18 days. They offered £2 million as security. The museum refused, so Nigeria commissioned artists Erhabor and Mokpai to recreate her from memory and photographs. That recreation became the official emblem of Festac 77, stamped on the festival's currency, its posters, its opening ceremony, broadcast to millions across the African diaspora. A queen mother who died in the 1500s became the face of Black global unity in the 20th century. The original still sits in London. The debate over returning her, and thousands of other Benin bronzes taken the same year, is still active today. Idia was never just a king's mother. She was a general, a strategist, a healer, and the reason an entire political office exists in Nigeria to this day. Her face outlived an empire, survived a burning palace, and became a flag for millions of people she never met. This is what Roots Unspoken does every episode. We find the woman standing just outside the frame of the history you were taught, and we put her back in the center of it. If this is the kind of history that was left out of your textbook too, subscribe. There are 107 more women like Idia waiting.